Welcome to another session of Understanding Human Anatomy. In this video, I'm going to discuss the brachial plexus. And I think what we need to do first is to define a plexus. What is a plexus? Now, plexi in general are areas where a lot of things interconnect, where you have branching from one structure onto another back and forth to make a mesh work. The brachial plexus is one of 3 or 4 nerve plexi. And it depends on how you count the plexus for the lower extremity is 1 or 2 plexi. It's a nerve plexus. And what happens is that certain structures, primarily our limbs, our upper and lower limbs, but also in the neck, we have structures that develop from more than one embryonic segment. In other words, in the embryo, more than one segment. Each segment is supplied by a spinal nerve. And I talked about that earlier in the general innervation plan of the trunk, that each segment has a nerve going to it. Well, in the embryo, these segments are set up the same way. And the limbs and structures in the neck that are supplied by plexi are derived from the prevertebral part of the segment, and more than one segment contributes to the structure. So if we're talking about a muscle, we may have a muscle that develops, say, from segments C5, C6, and C7. Embryonic muscle fibers from C5 move together with some from C6 and some more from C7 to form a definitive muscle. And the body can either send a nerve from C5, a branch from C5 to the muscle, another branch from C6 to the muscle, a third branch from C7 to the muscle. So we have 3 nerves going to supply that muscle. Or the body can take axons from C5 that are going to the muscle, combine them with axons from C6 going to the muscle, and with axons from C7 going to the muscle. They merge together and form one nerve, and that one nerve goes to the muscle. The plexus is the place where all this branching is taking place. That we have nerve fibers, axons, branching off of one nerve and joining together with other nerves. And in the end, we get the final nerves that are going to the structures in the limb. So a plexus is a place where axons from several different spinal nerves, and they will always be from the anterior ramus, branch from their original nerve to to combine to form new nerves all going to the same place or same area of the body, and each new nerve contains axons from several of the original nerves. So we're going to have starting nerves, a lot of branching, and then terminal nerves in a plexus. Okay. And we find a nerve plexus in the neck, the cervical plexus. We find a plexus supplying the upper extremity, the brachial plexus, and then we have the lumbar and sacral plexi, sometimes referred to as the lumbosacral plexus, that supplies the lower extremity. So, and again, it's important to remember that the roots, the beginnings of each plexus is formed by anterior rami of the different spinal nerves that contribute to it. Now, with the brachial plexus, I want you to remember the number 5. The number 5. The brachial plexus is formed from the anterior rami of 5 spinal nerves beginning with nerve C5 and then ending in 5 terminal nerves. So, anterior rami of 5 spinal nerves beginning at C5 and then ends in 5 nerves. So let's take a look at how the brachial plexus is put together. The starting point for the brachial plexus are 5 roots. Each root is a branch of an anterior ramus of a spinal nerve. And I said before, remember 5 because the first root is a branch of C5. So we have C5, C6, C7, C8, T1. So we have these 5 roots. And we'll draw the roots in, and for the root we will use the green color. So C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. Now, the roots are going to come together to form 3 trunks. The way we're going to do this is to have the root from C5 come together with the root from C6 and form 1 trunk. The root from C7 will just continue as the second trunk, and then the root from C8 will combine with the root from T1 to form the third trunk. The trunks are named superior, middle, and inferior. Sometimes they are also referred to as upper, middle, and lower. But the proper terms are superior, middle, and inferior. Next, each trunk will divide into an anterior and a posterior division. So the roots come together to form the trunks. The trunks then divide into anterior and posterior divisions. And I'm going to draw in the anterior division in red. So we have the anterior division of the superior trunk, the anterior division of the middle trunk. You notice it's going up to join the anterior division of the superior trunk. and the anterior division of the inferior trunk. Then I will draw the posterior divisions in blue. And the posterior division of the superior trunk will run inferiorly and cross behind the anterior division of the middle trunk. And the posterior division of the middle trunk will then move forward, and then the posterior division of the inferior trunk will run superiorly to join together with the other posterior divisions. So each trunk has an anterior and a posterior division. In summary, the brachial plexus starts out with 5 roots. Each root is a branch of an anterior ramus of a spinal nerve, beginning with spinal nerve C5. So it's C5, C6, C7, C8, T1. The roots from C5 and C6 come together to form the superior trunk. The root at C7 continues as the middle trunk, and the roots from C8 and T1 combine to form the inferior trunk. Then each trunk divides into an anterior and posterior division, and that's where we're going to leave it in this video, and I'll pick up with what happens with the divisions in the next video. Thank you for your attention.